Hey!
Hey! Thanks for being here,
Thanks
Lisa.
for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm
Got my
so
hair cut
excited
and
to chat with you
everything. I
like
went and
this.
got my hair cut.
It looks good.
Thank you.
It's very good.
How's my audio? Do I need to put in headphones or something?
No, I think everyone can hear you. I think it's good.
Okay.
I think so. Everyone, you guys can hear Lisa? Good?
Thumbs up
Okay.
or
I
hey,
think it's
I'm
good.
seeing
I see a lot of
everybody.
hearts. I know. I'm so happy everyone's able to join us on a Friday at 4 o'clock. But it's one of those times of days where you're kind of planning for the weekend, really not doing much. So I thought this would be like a great time to have this kind of conversation. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to join in because it is like 4:02. So
I think
make
it's
sure it's like,
keep
yeah.
trying to go down
Oh, the tripod?
the tripod. Let me make it bigger.
I know. I'm trying to do the same thing here. So.
Moving.
And while we're waiting for people to join, a lot of people were asking me, Constance, why are you doing this Instagram Live? And being in the TV business, I get so many questions about the business, but the number one topic that people are always asking about is about how do you make your relationship last? I'm going up to about 14 years of marriage now. And one of the major reasons why me and my husband Troy are doing okay is because our circle is tight.
Yeah.
And we are around people who are encouraging and who speak life into our marriage. So just like you might hear people say, you need people who speak goodness into your life. You need the same thing for your marriage. And Lisa, who I've known for what, like 12 years now. Uh-oh, Lisa.
No, I thought that was the record button, but it's not.
Lisa has been one of the number one people, her and her husband, who have been so encouraging. They've always been cheerleaders for us. Troy and I were long distance for like the last 3 years when I was in Virginia. A lot of people didn't know that, and you were just always there supporting us, saying, you guys are great, and it's important to have your family there, but when you have the family that you get to choose, your friends, it's even better. So, all right, let's see what time it is, because I want to make sure I give people enough time. There. Okay. And Renee, hey Renee.
Hey. Hey Carrie. I see a lot of people on here. I just want to say thank you for having me on, Constance. And yeah, you're so right about keeping that circle tight and that circle close. I'm going to talk about that too. I really want to talk about that when we get into these secrets. And before we even start, my husband is like, what are these secrets, Lisa? He's like, he doesn't know. So I think he's logging in because he can't know all my tricks. But he's picking up our son now, so they're not home yet. So I have the house to myself, which is very rare for me, a mom of 3, to have the house to herself. So it's nice. But I just want to give a big shout out to you, Constance. I'm super proud of you. And Troy, you said 14 years marriage. That's huge, huge. So congratulations to you guys.
Well, for anyone who's been married, you know that there are lots of ups and downs. So marriages are it's an adventure, right? And I think social media and there are a lot of things that we try to present that's positive. You don't always see the negative or the hardships that come with doing life with someone sometimes. So it was funny. I mentioned I had coffee with a friend today, and I had mentioned, I'm going live with Lisa. She was like, oh, who is she? I said, well, Lisa, I know Lisa because we worked in TV together. She used to work at my station in Miami. So I was like, I have to tell people about your background because some people may not know the extent of your professional accolades. So before we get started, we got to at least do kind of some of the housekeeping because some people may not know everything that you've done. So I'm going to be reading this because I don't want to get it wrong. Okay, this is from the LinkedIn page. All right.
Go ahead.
Making sure it's right. Lisa's award-winning TV broadcaster and reporter and currently serves as host for Taste of the Islands, an international culinary adventure show streaming on Amazon Prime TV. She's also entering her 12th season, right? 12th season as the host of School Duel, a premier high school academic game show right here in South Florida. In addition to that, most notably, she has served as an in-arena reporter for Miami Heat's Heat TV for Fox Sports. She also was a reporter for WIOD, WFOR TV, that's CBS in Miami, and WPLG TV, that's the ABC in Miami. That's the station we both worked at. She also spent time as a radio personality on Miami's iHeartRadio 103.5 The Beat, also on the DJ Laz Morning Show, Coast to Coast. She also served as a community outreach director for the 17th Judicial Circuit for the Broward State Attorney's Office. She also recently launched the LA PR firm in efforts to help businesses and business owners tell their story. She is a native of New York with Caribbean descent. Lisa was raised in Miami and is married with 3 beautiful children.
One, who, by the way, is a Miami Heat dancer. Let's give it up for that.
Yes.
Another one is a basketball player. We're waiting for him to get recruited to find out where he's going for college. And then one who's an amazing dancer and has just a great overall personality. And he's 9. So, yes, shout out to all the Jamaicans. Blah, 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 blah. I see it. No, I'm sorry. That's just my culture coming out. Sorry. I see
no. I mean,
so,
you guys, I mean, you could.
Thank you, Constance. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, I mean, we're going to get into it because we're going to run out of time. I know people had some questions earlier. And really, I think the first thing is, what's the basic foundation to a good relationship? What's the secret to that? And I preface that by saying there was a video I had reposted that went viral on TikTok of you two, you and your husband, doing a speed walking tag game in the house, right? And I think people saw that, and when you see couples having fun together, like genuinely having fun together, that's just an example of what's probably needed in a relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Like at the end of the day, I tell people, like, my husband and I, we got engaged in a club. Like people don't realize, like, a lot of people have memories of meeting us, like, dancing, hardcore Caribbean dancing. My husband's family's from Trinidad. My family's from Cuba and Jamaica. So like the cultural fire between us is crazy because we really enjoy music. We enjoy partying together, having a good time together. Our kids are definitely the same way. And I think the biggest part of it is being friends first. Friends, like having a foundation of friendship. We were friends for 4 years before we actually got involved in a real relationship. There were feelings on my side for those 4 years that we were friends. I liked him. I knew in the back of my mind I was going to end up with him, and I was plotting all these years. And the thing is that I think that at the end of the day, you two really need to genuinely like each other. Like, you need to like each other, because in over 20 years that we've been married, and I know people who've been married, our parents have been married, both of us, for over 50 years, there has to be a foundation of friendship, because that person is they're going to hurt you. They're going to disappoint you. And it might not be intentional, but there are things, we're human. And there has to be grace and compassion that's offered to that person. But at the end of the day, you need to be friends, because if you recognize that person as your friend, the same way you're going to give your friend a pass, you got to be able to give your spouse a pass. You know, that's your teammate. That's your number one cheerleader. So I think at the end of the day, you got to have that compassion, that grace, and that friendship, and find commonalities that you enjoy doing together, because that's important. Like for us, it's definitely going out dancing. Our relationship started off going to clubs almost every weekend because we just really enjoyed partying together.
And can I note that when I had met you via the TV business, but we were out at a wedding, and my husband and I were watching you two in the middle of the dance floor, stealing the show. It was like way past midnight. And I thought, that's the kind of couple that I need to be around. Like, you could tell they were having so much fun. And I think that's something that is important to have in a relationship, someone that you can have fun with, have a good time, because it's not always going to be good times, right? Like on social media, we see the good times, we see, you know, the beautiful home, the beautiful children, but there's also bad times as well. And that's why friendship is super important.
Yeah, no one knew when my house burned down. No one knew that I accidentally set my kitchen on fire right after we dropped Alyssa off at college. She goes to University of Miami. No one knew that was like, I went through a full-blown panic attack. We had to live in a hotel for 2 weeks, and this happened like a year and a half ago. And I got this beautifully remodeled home after, but it was really tough, you know, and no one saw that because it was so hard going through that. And my husband was out of town, so he had to get the phone call from our son to say, Mom just burned the house, like the kitchen down, and everything in our house had to go, everything. And it was really hard. No one sees the disagreements. No one's gonna know, because guess what? You're not privileged to know what goes on in my marriage and my life. And not even all my friends know everything that we've gone through together as a couple, because at the end of the day, and this is a part of the secrets, you know, like at the end of the day, it's between the two of you as a couple to share those moments. It's not for everybody to know your business, because not everyone is vested into that marriage the way you are. And not everyone wants to see you be successful. The same way when you see all those posts, Constance, about, oh, you know, just walk quiet and do what you need to do in the background. You know, you have haters that you think are your friends, blah, 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 blah. The same thing happens within your marriage. You know, you don't need to brag about how good he is in bed. You don't need to brag about how good he is to you. You just live your life. Praise him or her for what they're doing for you. But it's really between the two of you what happens. And the more people you involve in your marriage, the more issues you're going to have, because when you decide to forgive that person, you love that person unconditionally. So you'll forgive them in ways that no one else can forgive them. So the thing is that the privacy of the marriage is sacred. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that.
I think that's an amazing point. When I got the job in Virginia, this is 3 years ago, because not everyone knew that me and my husband were long distance. There was probably 10 people who knew. And I needed people who were going to be like supportive. Mm-hmm. and you guys can do it. And even helping us plan date nights or what.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Lisa, you were always there. And it was a very small group of people, because I wanted my marriage to last. And the statistics for long distance relationships are not good. Renee Marsh, who is a reporter for CNN, she was also in a long distance relationship. I talked to her about it as well. And there was only a very small group of people who knew what was happening between me and my husband. And there were some very difficult times because I didn't have him when I was going through the issues at work. And speaking of that, I wanted to go back to the fact that you were talking about friendships. You guys were intentional with spending time together, right? Can you talk about that? Because I think if you don't plan things together, activities, even if you're just watching Netflix, right? I think some couples, they'll watch separate shows. They're not even together. Can you tell us how you guys do that in your day-to-day life?
You know, I got to give Marcus credit for that, because when we started dating, it was really, it was a transition for me, because I wasn't used to someone who wanted to be around me as much as he actually wanted to be around me. And even, I'll never forget, one day we went out on a date, and the next day he came to pick me up, and my dad was like, he's back? He was like, you're going out again? Didn't you go out yesterday? And I said, yeah, Daddy, he wants to go out again. You know, so we went out the next day. And it's funny because like I wasn't used to someone being almost like white on rice. And he introduced me into that, spending time together. And yes, it's so true when you talk about intention. We watch the same shows on Netflix. He'll watch a girl show with me. I'll watch, you know, basketball with him. I do understand when it's basketball season, it's football season. That's right. He gets the reins of the TV. And, you know, right now my house is dominated by men because my daughter's away at college. And so it's one of these things where you have to do everything with intention. You have to say, we are going to go out together. We are going to sit down and eat together. There was a period of Marcus's life where he worked a lot and people didn't know. Same way where you talk about how Troy was away from you when you were working in Virginia. Even though Marcus worked in the same city and in the same town as me, for the most part, he would leave 7 in the morning, drop our kids off at school. I wouldn't see him till maybe 8 or 9 o'clock that night. He'd be so tired. He'd come home and sleep. And I remember one time our daughter, she was upset because she said, I feel like Daddy doesn't spend time with me, because he would be taking Tristan to basketball or doing whatever he could do to fulfill his role as a father. And I was like, girl, I'm trying to get him to spend time with me. You know, so it's like, that's where the compassion comes in, because I realized that whatever he was doing, he wasn't doing. He wanted to provide for his family the best he could. And he was, and he still is a great provider for this family. And at the end of the day, he really made sure that he tried to split his time with us as best he could. But as a wife, as much as I used to want to throw my tantrums because I just wanted to spend time with him, I recognized that I had to split my time with him amongst our kids as well, so they could feel equally loved too. So you're right, you know, doing things, and I'm sorry, Trevor, our dog, you know, you have to do things with intention. and finding a commonality like dancing, going out partying together, going out to a movie together. We found during the pandemic bike riding together outdoors. It's something new to us that we started doing, and now we know every trail in Davie. We know every trail. Like we go far now, and it's so cathartic just to spend that time. And we have some of the best discussions. We've had arguments on that bike. We've had really good discussions on that bike. We've done so many things. We've ironed out some issues just while we're riding, So I think it's important to do that. I'll let you ask it. You know me, I'll just talk.
No, but I know we have some people just joining. And so for you guys who don't know, this is my good friend, Lisa, and she has been married for over 20 years. And she's sharing some of the secrets to her successful marriage. And I call it successful because I've witnessed her and her husband. They have spoken into me and my husband's life. And they're amazing examples and really a role model for me on how I should handle issues. And I think it's super important to have people in your life, in your circle, that's going to support you. And there's not enough good discussions about marriage, right? I don't think our society and some of the images that we see out there, it definitely doesn't promote real issues with marriage. And speaking of real issues, we talked about, and you tell me how comfortable you are. Of course, we've got a variety of people joining us. Planning time to spend time together. I know that you obviously have your children, you mentioned. You got Trevor in the background barking. You've got your parents down the street.
Came home, no chance, bye.
I know. You've got your parents down the street. You've got his parents down the street. You've got your sisters. You've got tons of family members who are also pulling you guys at all these different directions. How important is it to be sacred with your time together and maybe pushing some people away? I know there's been times where like, hey, Lisa, let's hang out. And you're like, well, this weekend, we're busy.
We're always busy. That's a really good question. We're fortunate, and this was intentional as well, not to move out of Florida. After I graduated college and we got married, I wanted to move to New York, and he was planning to move back to LA because he went to college in LA. And then we found out we were going to be having Alyssa, and we chose intentionally to stay down here because both sets of grandparents are here, and we wanted to raise our kids with the grandparents. So for us, that was an intentional move. But with that also comes stresses of your family being around a lot. And my husband and I are both ridiculously close with our families, like ridiculously close with our families. And to the point where we lived with them at certain periods. At one period in between homes, when we were buying one home, we lived with my parents. Another point, his parents were with us. And so we're very close. But to your point, it is very important that you create that space and say, okay, we're going to spend time together, and we're going to, yes, someone wrote, it takes a village. It does take a village. And we had to really intentionally say, let's have like Sundays is our day to entertain the family. Like for the most part, everyone knows on Sunday, Marcus is barbecuing, I'm cooking a big meal, everyone comes over that day, and it's one big party here. So a lot of times I don't have time for my friends as much as I'd like to have time for my friends, because our family fills so much space in our life. But at the end of the day, it's very fulfilling and rewarding for us, because we know that our children are growing up with their families, their cousins, and that extended village that's around us. So the dog has distracted me, and my ADHD has kicked in. So now.
All right. So I'm going to just jump into the next subject, and you answer as freely or as comfortably as you want. 20 years of marriage. You guys were even together. So I don't know how many years, but 22, 23. I don't know. A lot of years together.
23 together. Yeah.
23 together.
Yeah. We've been together since we met in 94, and we've been together since 98.
So we got to talk about sex. Okay. Just talk about it, and we don't have to get all graphic, but how do you keep it fresh?
How do we keep it fresh?
Yeah, that's right.
That dancing.
I mean, how do you? Is it about communication? Is it like how on earth? Because that's something that is a big issue in relationships. I've met couples who haven't had sex for months. You just get used to living your own life and running around. And I will say, just honestly, like I work mornings, so Troy's got to catch me when I'm not passed out in the bed. Seriously, and I think for anyone who has a busy life, that may be really hard to schedule in.
Okay, so I would say this, the scheduling and thing, I've heard that before. I've never done that, but we have had this thing. Are y'all ready? Look at this. Here we go. So this has never been an issue, I'll say, in my marriage for the most part. I will say that there have been times where life has been busy and crazy, but I would say that sex was never really a big issue in our marriage. Thankfully, we're just very connected.
That's why y'all are married for so long, right? Because you guys keep it going.
And remember, we like to dance, and we're
so you're intimate with each other. There's that foreplay that's happening.
Exactly. There's a lot of that. But then we started this thing years ago, and this is definitely a secret. It's called the Thursday night jump off, right? So every Thursday, right? So I don't know what happened. I think one Thursday was a great Thursday for us. And so, and I'm keeping it clean, okay? So one Thursday was a very nice Thursday for us. And so we were like, dang, this is a jump off, So we were like, Thursday night jump off. So then after that, every Thursday, I'm like, it's Thursday. So Thursday mornings, Thursday night jump off, Thursday night. So all day long, we just talk crap all day. Even if Thursday night jump off meant we're just laying in bed and I'm just laying in his arms watching television, that was the jump off that night. But it was something to look forward to for Thursdays. And I mean, like, it was something to really, I'm watching all the comments. It's cracking up.
Well, it's funny because you said you don't schedule it, but it sounds like there's a little bit of anticipation for something to happen.
Right. And then also, I think that what we don't understand is that our men, I think that society programs us to think that men can switch it on and switch it off. And we think that they are robots when it comes to this. We think that we like to think, and and this is, I've had to have very raw discussions with my husband, and he's had to explain this to me that they are emotional beings and they do have emotions. And for them, their emotion plays a role in their physical. So where they are, if they're worrying about bills, if they're worrying about the job, if something else is going on in their life, it can affect them. And I didn't understand that. I just thought
super important. Yeah.
I just thought, ooh, I'll just do this real quick and boom. And it doesn't happen that way. And again, I'm keeping it very, I'm very raw, but I'm not keeping, because I think Chance is watching this in his room. But at the end of the day, I have open discussions with my family. But at the end of the day too, I think it's important for us to really understand that I think we need to be compassionate to them too, and realize that sometimes they need a little foreplay. They need their back rubbed. They need to be, we have to pour into them what we want them to pour into us. That may mean giving him a massage. That may mean giving him a pedicure. That may mean rubbing his head. If he's not in the mood, okay, you have a headache, honey, don't worry, I'm gonna take care of you. That means just like working it a little more, putting that sexy on, just playing some music. Sometimes a Thursday night jump off was just about playing music in the room. And before you know it, whatever Chris Brown song came on, it was done. So I think that is one of the secrets that I've learned in marriage that I don't think you learn being just in a relationship, because I think in a relationship, you definitely aren't going to be as open, as vulnerable, and as raw with that partner as you will be with your wife of many years, because there has to be that comfort level where you're willing to be raw with them. And yes, someone put up, know their love language. That's another thing too. That's the entire marriage, understanding their love language and understanding your love language. Because a lot of times in marriage, we pour into that person what we think needs to be poured into us. And that might not be what they want. Like, I am not a gifts person. Like, don't shower me with gifts. Don't come home with flowers and with pocketbooks and handbags and sunglasses and makeup. I don't want that. I want your quality time. I want to just, lay in your arms, you rub my head, or we just watch a movie together, or touch. I see somebody said food is your love language. Food is not a love language, CJ.
I'll say it helps. When Troy comes home and he sees food, he's like, oh, there's food. It smells like a
that is gifts of service. So yes, so that does fall under the love language. The 5 love languages, touch, attention, gifts, service, and there's another one. Oh, I have the book in my room, but I forget. If anyone knows, put it up for me, please.
Okay, so I can't believe it's already been like 30 minutes. This is crazy. And I haven't even gone through, like, there's so many things I want to ask
Yeah,
you
there were
about.
some
I will say, because I think we live in a city, we live in Miami, you and I both, right? And I think this is an unusual place because we have so many beautiful women here, right? It's very, and I know you've lived here. I've lived in many other places. There's no place like Miami when it comes to the eye candy that's out there. So how do you, right? I mean, I think that's something that is worth.
Girlfriend. I'm just saying. No, but
So, but dealing with that and safeguarding your marriage, right? Like, I think there are steps how do I say this? Making sure that your husband feels confident and good in the relationship, right? And feeling like that you guys are together on the same page. How do you safeguard your marriage from those who may want to try and break it apart? And I say that because, and I'll just use a little example for me.
okay.
I mean, my husband is an artist in town, and there have been women who will creep on his page,
Y'all better get off
comment on his page,
we coming for
right?
you. Sorry.
And so, and my husband, and for us, he'll be like, hey, by the way, look at this. And he'll let me know, who this person is. I don't know this person or whatever it is, because I check. I'm not all the time. But there are people who try to come for him, right? And I'm hoping, we have this level of trust that, okay, hopefully he's not messaging that person back or creating a relationship. And there's a level of trust you have to have, obviously, with your spouse. But how do you handle that? Because it's so intense sometimes. It seems like there are people who are looking for married men and looking to spoil a relationship.
First of all, I want to speak to all the chicks that's trying to ride up in Troy's DM. Just get out, because we will come for you. I am 305 all day, just so you know. Okay, I just had to say that. Okay, but anyways, don't let the little sweet face fool you. So, but anyways, I say this. I think that at the end of the day, it's definitely up to that person to handle those people. It is not your responsibility, Constance, to go into his DM, and you really shouldn't be looking. And I'm not saying you are, but in general.
I don't. I did before he would tell me. And so, that's how we try to.
Listen, I don't.
And that's, I mean, everyone's different. I just wonder how you guys handle it, because I think that's something that a lot of people have different ways of handling it. And I know Marcus is a very successful, I mean, I don't want to go into details about all the success.
We do this thing, right? Like when he does look cute, it's so funny because like when he does look cute, I'm like, all right, let's practice. What are you gonna say to the host when they try and talk to you today? Like we do a little exercise before he leaves, and he thinks I'm funny and crazy, and I'm not jealous, and he's not jealous. But I'll say, let's practice now. What are you gonna say? No, say no. No, I'm married. Like we play around, but it's a joke, right? But it's also me in my own, words saying, man, this man is fine. He's cute, and I'm sending him out in the streets like this. So yes, there's always that. But at the end of the day, I think that, yes, someone wrote men look too. Yes, absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, you have to develop that level of trust, right? And earlier on in the marriage, I would try and look and lurk. And I feel like you shouldn't. I've learned my lesson. I'll say this. Because I feel like when you look and you lurk, you are going to find something that's going to seem and appear to be bad, right? And you may create a whole problem that's not even there. So don't even look. Don't look, because I truly believe, especially as women, we have intuition. And God is going to reveal to you what is going on. Whether or not you want to face the truth of what's happening in your relationship is up to you. But you shouldn't have to look for it, because it's going to come. It's going to come out. Whatever happens in the dark always comes to light. And trust your gut, trust your instinct. I think that just clear expectations in the marriage and making sure that you are respecting that person and making sure that person respects you the same way is essential. Constantly building on that friendship, that you are comfortable to talk to that person about things if someone is harassing them. And also knowing, like, I know if some woman comes to my husband, he's going to check them, because he knows that it might get ugly if I have to check them. And he's not going to want to put me in that. I'm sorry. I did fight in high school and middle school, whatever. But anyways, so he knows he wouldn't want to put me in that situation. And at the end of the day, too, because I was always told, too, that a man needs to love you like more than you love him, because it is much harder for a man to be monogamous than it is for a woman. And the reason being, and you can debate me if you want, these are things that I'm just saying this based on what I know, is that there's way more opportunity, I think, for men than there are for women. Women are less likely to just, I don't know, I don't want to speak out of, but either way, it's
No, I think,
men,
I mean, with kids and other things, I mean, there's a lot.
yeah, men are not used to being approached as much as women are. We're constantly approached. We're constantly being hit on. We're so used to it, you know, blah, 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 telling people, no, we're not interested. Men, so when men do get that, it's a boost of, you know, confidence to them. And oh my gosh, this lady's into me and she's fine too. And she had a BBL, okay? You know, so it's like, to them, it's enticing. And depending on at what point in their life they're being approached, they may fall prey to that. So I think that, you know, to what you were asking me, just dealing with it, I would hope that my man knows, and I've always said this from the beginning, any relationship I've been in, that don't ever let me walk in a room where everyone is like, you know what her man was doing last night? You know what her man was? Don't ever let me walk in a room and be that woman. Don't let me do it. Just break up with me now. Just let me know now, but don't embarrass me like that, because I will never embarrass you that way. So don't do it to me. So I think it's just, as long as you both have that level of trust and respect, the respect is key. Bigger than the trust, the respect, because with respect comes trust. So I think that's basically what you do. And then also keep yourself in check, girlfriend. Get your hair done. Make sure you look good. Make sure he knows too that you're a threat. You let him know. You make sure you get your nice clothes. Take care of yourself. Eat right. Go to the gym. Make sure that he knows that you're not slipping and that somebody is right there just waiting to slide up in your DM too. So that's just how I look at it.
You had mentioned that you guys had some fights in high school. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free. Some people have sent me some comments, but if you have any questions for Lisa, you can send them in. How do you stop fighting, right? You and Marcus seem very passionate, right? So I imagine, in addition to dancing and having fun, I imagine that when there is an argument, it could be just as passionate.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because everyone, they love, my husband is great. Calm, cool, collected. He's like so laid back. But when he gets mad, he gets mad. He's got a vein that pops, his eyes will pop, and like I always tell him, his brain goes to mush, and we don't even know the words coming out of his mouth. It's almost like he speaks another language when he gets mad. Me, I'm always like I talk all the time. So, you know, the minute he gets like that, I know to just shut it down, back off. I know not to continuously poke him and poke him and poke him. I know when it's my turn to just close my mouth. And I'll tell him, now is not a time for us to discuss this. And I do not believe in don't go to bed angry. I believe in going to bed angry because sometimes you do need to sleep it off. You need to relax. You need to calm down. Don't force the discussion when it's not time. Wait till you're ready. And it might be a day or two. And don't withhold food and withhold sex and withhold kindness and compassion. You can be in the middle of a disagreement and people would never know. We took a trip one time for a whole week and went and stayed with family, and they never knew we were in one of the deepest arguments ever because it wasn't for anyone else to know. And it wasn't time to heal that wound. It wasn't time. We both needed to process everything and figure out what we wanted to say and how we wanted to say it. And one thing I learned through counseling through the years is that we learned like a 5-minute rule where you allow one person to speak for 5 minutes and you cannot say a word. Let that person get it all off their chest. And girl, you know me, I'm there at my pen and paper and I'm just writing. And the minute his 5 minutes is up, I'm just like, okay, so you said this and I disagree with that. And he couldn't say a word in my 5 minutes. And that has been so helpful to us during our arguments. And another thing too, during your arguments, don't ever curse at each other. That is a rule. Like, don't ever call me a B. Don't ever curse at me, especially when you're mad. Like, we don't tolerate that. But at the end of the day, when you're arguing, force each other to say, dear or honey. I can't stand that you did this, dear. You know, like, I can't, like, it really changes the whole tone of the discussion. And if you know that the both of you are a unit and you know that you're a team and you're in it together, I think the biggest secret is understanding that you guys are teammates. You're not enemies. This is not your enemy. You married, like you're wearing a ring, you married that person. That's not your enemy. You may be disagreeing about something right now and arguing about something, but the both of you are on the same team. So you want the resolution. How do we get there? And it's really with just listening and effectively communicating, not arguing, not fussing. If you feel the need to scream at that person, y'all are not ready to talk and discuss it.
Yeah.
You're not. So just sleep another night and wait.
There was a point that you brought up, therapy, and then someone made a comment, yes to therapy. And I think, again, doing life with other people that are invested in the success of your marriage. Both you and your husband, you guys are going to actually be hosting a marriage, boot camp? Or can you give us some details about that?
Yeah, through our church, History Makers, during the pandemic, they started a marriage course. And we were like, we don't need no marriage course. We're at a good place in our life, And we took this 7-week marriage course because we considered it to be a date night. It was at a restaurant and it was really nice. And over those 7 weeks, I must tell you, we learned so much more about each other because you're constantly evolving as a person. You're constantly evolving as a couple, and things change. And I learned so much about my mate, and he learned so much about me in those 7 weeks. And our pastors asked us to come back and host it for the 7 weeks. So we're starting on Tuesday hosting. It's going to be in Pembroke Pines, Florida. I think the class is full, but it's History Makers, and they're on Instagram, and I'll post it again if you want to follow and at least find out when they're doing it next. And it was really a good course. If it's not that course, just any course. Through the years, we've taken different financial courses together. We've taken parenting courses together. We're constant students, and we realize that we don't know it all, and we just want to grow. So we're constantly working on ourselves. I'm working on myself constantly. He is as well. So I think that's really important for the growth of the marriage and the relationship, is the individualism as well. He goes and he golfs and he does things with his friends. I go out with you and some of our other friends and Nikki. We have girlfriend nights and we hang out, we do things. And the other day I realized that we were spending too much time together. Like I had to tell my husband that I feel like we're spending too much time together and I miss my individualism. And I told him that I needed some space, and my space means just walking around Home Goods by myself. Like that's what space means to me. It doesn't mean anything else. I just needed to do the things that I normally would do before the pandemic. So it's tough being married. I'm going to be honest with you. It's tough because it's two different people with different upbringings, with different mentors and role models, with different views on what a marriage should look like. So it's really hard to mesh the views, but it's a beautiful thing when the both of you figure out how to do that. And it's totally worth it when you put the work in, especially with someone you really like and you have fun with, and someone who's your biggest cheerleader. It really is a beautiful thing.
So it's been 40 minutes, and I want anyone who has any questions. I know some people may be a little shy because it's so public. And maybe we'll do this in a different format later so people don't, I'm just now thinking about that. Like, yeah, this may be a little uncomfortable to post the questions this way. But I think you make a good point. Like, if I want to be rich, I'm not going to hang out with poor people. I'm going to hang out with rich people. If I want a successful marriage, I'm going to be around people who are working on, having a good marriage. If I want to be in shape, I'm going to go to the gym around other people who are working out every day. Like, you have to invest the effort and the time, like you would for your career. And so one other quick question, because I know I don't want this to go too long, so I'm hoping to repost this later. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask below. One thing I mentioned at the beginning of this live feed was just the accolades that Lisa has. She has done so many things in her career. You have. Your resume is extensive, and your husband just as ambitious as you. Yeah. So and I have a lot of women on here who are watching, who are ambitious career women, and sometimes have a hard time balancing their careers and their desires with the idea of sometimes compromising for your spouse, maybe taking a position you wouldn't normally take. Can you talk a little bit about that? And yeah, hand in the air.
Oh, I've done that. You know, all my life, if you would have asked me, everyone who knows me from elementary, middle, and high school knew that Lisa was going to be this big time news anchor. And I was already interning at Power 96 when I was in the 11th grade. I was interning at a movie studio when I was a senior in high school. I was interning at NBC6 in college. I went to school to study broadcast journalism. I became a mother, and everything just like flipped my world upside down. As you see in my accolade, I taught for 5 years. I worked for a charter school management company. Shout out to Academica, who were great to me during the time that I was raising my kids. They allowed me to work from home. And, you know, even when I had my son Chance, they allowed me to stay home with him. And it was a beautiful thing. And I've had to navigate that. But deep down, I still wanted to be the broadcaster that I was aiming for all my life. And there were times where I cried and it was tough. And then I watched my husband start climbing the corporate ladder and doing really well and starting to provide amazingly for our family. We were so broke when we got together. Like, his car was being repossessed. When we started dating, it's funny, like, he was driving my car, you know, and we have this beautiful home now. We have this beautiful life that we've built together. And it's crazy because you do have to sacrifice. And I'll say this, that you both can't be ambitious, like crazy ambitious at the same time, because it will pull you apart. You just won't see each other. Someone, especially if there are kids at home. See, my dynamics is that we've always had kids at home. So whenever I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who has kids in the house. And someone needed to be there for them. And I decided to take on that role. And there were periods in our lives, like now, Marcus's career has switched. So now the way that our life is, I can be a little bit more ambitious because he has now flipped the switch. So he's able to take Chance to school, pick him up, and he can help out. But it is very hard. And I just encourage women to never give up on yourself, because at the end of the day, if I could let you read some of the essays that my daughter wrote when she was going to college and talking about how she watched her mom be successful, and the role model in her life has always been me because she's watched me juggle so much. You have to do it for yourself as well. And I feel like being a working mom is all that I know and all that I can be, because the 1 year I did not do it, it was driving me crazy. And so just continuously try and work and openly communicate with your spouse. Tell them, listen, this is not me resenting him. He was concerned that because I didn't get to fulfill my career the way I wanted to, that I would resent him for it. And I never wanted that. So we talked about it, and listen, there's still time. Who knows where this road may lead me, you know? So we'll see.
So we're running out of time, but Lisa, how can people find you?
Okay, I have a website, www.lisaleeinc.com. You can find me on Instagram too, and I answer every DM. Or you can email me at lisaleeinc@gmail.com. I'm everywhere, guys. Lisa Lee Inc. everywhere, on Twitter, on Facebook. I try my best to respond to everything. Just comment somewhere. There was a question about balancing. Anna had a question, wondering how do you navigate different views on parenting? That is a very interesting comment. And the thing is that we've had some of that go on in my house. It's just, again, that give and take. It's where that compromise comes in. You really have to just calmly talk about, you know, why you feel the way you feel. And this is a part of that learning experience. I know you're a new parents, and just communicate your thoughts, your views, your feelings, your wishes, and it'll all work out. It always does. And I know at the end of the day, both you and your spouse have the best interest of your child at hand. Just remember that you're a team. There was another question, if I have a moment to go over, it talked about your in-laws, and I had posted that. How do you deal with in-laws? That's a big thing. And at the end of the day, allow your spouse to handle their family. I would definitely say that. And always remember the triangle. God at the top, you here, and your spouse on the other side of that triangle. Don't let anyone penetrate that triangle. Anyone or anything penetrate that triangle.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for chatting with me. We got to do this again, because we didn't even get through anything. I mean, we did, but it's just so many things to talk about.
Thank you for all the
part 2, part 3, part 4. Thank you, guys. All right, well, we'll catch you guys again. Thanks again, Elisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Constance.